Hey all.
Hey guys, welcome to Monday Night Live with Rich and Shelley at Air to Ground Farms. We're happy to be here.
Heck yeah.
Hope you guys have had a great week.
Yeah.
Hey, let us know where you are in the comments. We know we've got people from Canada, Missouri, quite a few places. Just let us know.
Yeah, and I know you will, but let us know if it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, right?
I know last week it didn't sound too good.
So we got a little bit of a different setting tonight. We're actually in the podcast studio. We have a podcast that we put out on the other channel on Dust or Mud, and we were recording a podcast about 2 hours ago.
Yep.
And instead of moving a bunch of equipment into the other room, we just decided to do it in here and let the cool blue hue be our backdrop tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, Minnesota. Awesome. Hey, guys.
Hello, Scott. We have Peaceful Acres Homestead. Blessings from Alberta. Thank you.
We have
And-
quite a few people in Canada. That is so awesome.
Yeah, Phil from Washburn. What's up?
Hey, Phil.
So tonight we wanted to start with just a little farm update, talk, weather and what's going on the farm, and then we will transition to talking about our forested pork operation and where we started and where we are now. So
Yeah.
that's
Well,
sort of the plan.
First of all, it's been a little bit drier the past few days. We had all that rain, and it has been a wonderful couple of days. It has been pleasant to be out farming. So much so, we finally got the sheep on the move.
Yeah, that was great. We've dry lotted them through the winter time, and there's reasons why we do that, but all the way through lambing, and now the lambs are about 2 months old, the majority of them. So we've got them out on the pasture, and that's great. Tomorrow is sheep working day.
If you guys are free,
Oh, yeah.
and want to come wrangle some sheep, come on down and join us.
We could definitely use somebody to help trim hooves.
Hey, Susie Q. Martin from Indiana. Glad you're here tonight.
Yeah.
So tomorrow we'll be doing sheep. We have them out grazing. Funny story.
Now that has to stay till the pigs.
No. You wanted that to stay? Wait? I thought that was an I thought that was a farm update.
With Huck?
Yeah.
Okay, it can be
Okay,
fun.
well, we'll wait. We'll wait on that story. It is a really funny story. Chickens are going to the processor day after tomorrow. So on Wednesday will be our first trip to a chicken processor. We're going to take 150-ish birds to the USDA processor in Clinton, Arkansas.
Yep.
We are going to use the company, it's called Natural State, because that's Arkansas, Natural State Processing, to process our chickens this year. The reason being we want to be able to ship them, and if we do them ourselves, we can only sell them in the state of Missouri. So exciting. We're going to send off our chickens tomorrow. So today we put together 17 of those really big orange crates that you see rolling down the road a lot, so that we can put like 10 chickens per
crate, yeah.
per crate in there. We got that chore finally done. We do just in time farming, y'all. Meaning we do things just in time.
Yeah.
Right
Hey,
before
done.
it's necessary.
It's done on time.
Right? Yeah, so we got that done.
We did.
Farm wise.
Yep. We received a batch of birds from Murray McMurray towards the end of the week last week.
Mm-hmm.
So we currently have 750 meat birds on farm right now, and that is 200 birds more than we did the entire season last year.
Yeah.
So we have really ramped up the meat bird production, and taking them to the processor has allowed us to do that. So we drop the birds off on Wednesday morning. They have to be at the processor by 6:30, which means leave by 3:30, something like that, from the house here.
Yep.
And then 2 weeks later, when we drop off the next batch, we pick up that batch, and that starts the rotation throughout the season.
But in all honesty, we aren't taking them.
No.
My father-in-law and our daughters significant other are taking them Huck. So Eddie and Huck are going to be hauling those birds to Arkansas and making the round trip. We've been down there. We saw the plant. That was awesome.
It was.
Yeah. So they're going to take them for us and drop them off and bring back clean crates.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Today, my dad, Papa Eddie, took 4 hogs and a cow to the processor. So that was great. Making meat, man. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, making meat. And we're basically going once, maybe twice a month for drop off of animals to be processed. And then when we drop off, typically we'll do a pickup and bring meat back from the processor. Our processor is only about an hour and 45 minutes from us. They're USDA. The cool thing is they are small. They are not some big, 4,000 cow a day kind of place. They do USDA small processing. So they'll do anywhere from maybe, I don't know, I think she told me like 50 cows maybe a month. I mean, they're not huge, but they're immaculate. They're clean. They're amazing to work with. They're a small family operation, and we have just really enjoyed working with them. They do really cool. They do really good stuff for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so
pretty much.
I think that covers kind of what's going on this past week.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing really is the sheep getting out and onto pasture and grazing.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Okay, so let's move on to our pastured pork operation. It's not pastured. Y'all, I said that twice today. It's not even pastured. They're in the forest.
Forested pork.
Forested pork because we don't put them in our pastures because we don't want our pastures to look like pigs have been there.
Right.
We use those for our cows. Now, for our forested pork operation, which we love.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. We started, the whole farm really started around pork and pork production. And we knew that we wanted to make pork and make good pork. And we have forest available. So the concept of putting them in the forest was just like, that was right from the beginning. That's what we were going to do. It's a natural setting for the hogs, for the pigs.
Oh, yeah.
They, if you follow Joel Salatin, he talks about putting the animals in their natural environment and how that makes them happy. And happy animals taste good, right?
Yes.
So the idea of putting the pigs in the forest just made sense. We have a lot of oak trees and black walnuts and hickory, and so every fall we get the advantage of having nature providing food for the pigs as well. So like putting them in the forest was like from the beginning, that's what we wanted to do. And
we knew that we also wanted to be mobile. We wanted to put them in the forest, but we didn't want them to just stay in one spot. We wanted to move them through so that they can clean out underbrush and just be regenerative amongst the trees as well.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And so with that, we learned we actually looked at J&L Green Farms in Virginia, and we visited his farm before we moved here. And
we bought pork from their farm.
Bought a whole hog, bought some beef. I mean, like we bought quite a bit from his farm, from their farm, and learned how to move the pigs around using their procedures and processes. And we train them initially and then keep them in the paddocks we want them in with a single hot wire, electrified wire. And that's how we're able to keep them in the forest and then move them around to different paddocks within the forest. Susie Q asks a question, do you have to deworm them often? We don't deworm them often. We deworm the piglets when we first get them. If we're buying feeder piglets, we deworm them. Or if we have farrowed our own before we move them out onto
just now
their own paddock,
right?
We deworm them.
Well, you guys did all of the castrating last
Yeah.
week, and with the castrating, did we talk about that last
We
week?
dewormed them.
I don't
we talked
think we
about
did.
castrating, I think.
Well, anyway, they dewormed them, all of them then, and that will, because of the way we move them around, that will carry them through.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we initially just tried to find feeder pigs, and this is an example. Our first batch of pigs, we had some Hampshire Yorkshire cross, and this is what they looked like. This is in
They were
our
pink.
in our woods, first batch of pigs, pinkies.
Yeah. Totally.
And some of them you could see that you could see the Hampshire, that's a black with a white stripe across the middle.
One of the reasons that we started with these pigs, not those specific ones, but pigs in general, was we knew that, first of all, if you've been watching us for any time, you know, we were kind of in a hurry just because of our age. We wanted to get things up and running.
Yeah.
And we knew that growing pork, we could do that in 6 to 8 months. Let's get some pigs, get them on pasture, get them fed, get them out the door in 6 months. We weren't really ready for chickens because we weren't ready to process. We were still
Meat birds,
building
right.
meat birds. We were still building a house. We knew cows were going to take a bit. We did have some sheep, but that was also going to take some time. But pigs, you can get some feeder pigs and get some meat into people's freezers in about 6 months.
Yeah.
So that's why we attacked that pretty quickly and hard. And we've had pigs ever since, and just more and more.
Yeah.
Look at those blue eyes on that thing, y'all.
We had one batch, the gentleman that we were buying them from, he had some that ended up with blue eyes.
Uh-huh.
And then this is an example. These were one of the first batches. These are just about ready to go to the processor, and you can see the impact that they have on the forest sort of behind me. They really do a great job of cleaning out the brush, and you know, where the forested area really gets grown up with all kinds of briars and brambles and brush and stuff. They do a great job of cleaning that out, and really in that manner we use them for regenerating the areas under the tree or under the trees in the forest, and they do a really good job. The grass grows back.
Yeah, it does.
After they've made it through.
Especially if you throw some seed out. So you saw him in there with the pigs, and somewhere along there, I think there was a picture of the hot wire right about snout level, and we just kind of adjust that as they grow.
Yeah, I think this one. Yeah, this
Yeah,
one.
see, if you can see that line there, that's what keeps them in. And they've been trained, so when they touch that with their little wet nose, they get lit up, they squeal, and then they go away from it and they leave it alone. And for the most part, it keeps them in really well.
Yeah,
More to come on that.
The training part of it is their natural instinct is when they touch the wire is to go forward, and the training portion of that is when they're really small, you need them to learn to go backwards.
Right.
So that's the training portion. So Angel's Homestead says, how often do you move the pigs? Probably the most honest answer is never often enough, is what it seems like. But we try to vary it based on the impact they're having on the ground.
Yeah, for the most part, it's in terms of weeks, not months.
Yeah.
So probably every 3 weeks, we'll send them to a new paddock. If I got hurt, and then that kind of slowed that down. So they kind of would stay a little longer, and then we would move them on. So it really is schedule based. They really need to move like once every 10 to 12 days. To be honest, that's about how long. But if we give them a bigger paddock area, and so there's not so much impact for them, then we can go a little longer without moving them. And so it's really about density. How many is in there?
We'll vary it based on how busy we know that we're going to be. Right. So if there's a time where we've got plenty of time and we know we can dedicate time to the pigs, we'll give them a smaller area, knowing that we're going to move them sooner. if there's a man, we're really busy, then we'll give them a bigger area. Their impact will be less. It'll take longer.
So one of the questions that sometimes we get is, well, what is their shelter? How do you house them? And the answer is we don't. The shelter is the trees. They're pigs. And pigs in the wild live in the woods, and they live under the trees, and nobody builds them a hut.
Sometimes
they're pigs.
Here's an example of, we do have a hut, and when they're small, we will sometimes give them the hut. For the piglets in the winter time, we will give them the hut, but that is not, it doesn't, like, we don't just move that around the forest with them all the time. There are times when we'll give them that, and for the most part, we don't.
And they're fine. They have gone. We give it during the winter months, and which we typically do, feed out through the winter. We give them big, large bales of hay that's like yucky hay that we don't really even care, because we're not going to give it to our cows anyway. So we'll give them big, huge round bales of hay, and they will make just the coolest nests and make themselves quite a big blanket on the ground. And one day we went out there, and 12 pigs came crawling out of this big pile of hay.
Underneath them, you couldn't even see them.
You couldn't see them, and they just crawled out, and they were steaming when they came out. They were so warm. It was winter. There was snow and ice on the ground. Those pigs came out of that hay blanket just steaming, perfectly happy.
We mentioned that the first batch of pigs that we got were a Hampshire-Yorkshire cross. Within the, I think, 3 batches of pigs, we had tried Berkshire, and from that point on, we were sold on the Berkshire pigs. This is an example of what Berkshire look like. They are a black pig. They have some white on their face, and then they have white on their tips of their feet. So they look like they're wearing white socks. And we were sold on the Berkshires. After the first time we tried them, they are...
the first time that we tried the pork.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, those pigs are so lovely and wonderful. No. It was the pork chop.
Yeah.
It was the rib chop.
No, I mean,
specifically,
the pigs themselves,
they're fine.
They were fine. They weren't any better or worse than the other pigs that we were raising. The pork was amazing.
Once I tried the rib chop from those Berkshires, the first ones, I was sitting there going, we're never going back. Yeah. This is it. The flavor of the meat with the marble of the fat in there, it was just salt and pepper. You don't need to brine it. You don't need to do anything else with it. Salt, pepper, throw that on the grill, maybe some farm dust, and it is, well,
amazing.
We still have a bunch of pork.
Yeah, Berkshire is one of, I think, 4 breeds of hogs that have intramuscular marbling. So they marble like beef does. So your rib chop on the Berkshire pork is similar to a ribeye in beef, and the flavor is just amazing. The pH of Berkshire is a little bit different, so the acidity is a little different than other pork.
Yeah.
And that too adds to a flavor profile that just pops.
Okay, feed. Let's move on before we get to our funny story.
Okay.
Feed. We do non-GMO. Local Beaver Creek is the company or the local feed mill that we use. It's all natural stuff in there. There's no, things that you look at. It looks like corn and soybeans and just, or oats and wheat.
Crushed up grains.
Crushed up grains is what it looks like. We take that non-GMO feed, we stick it into a big broken chest freezer, and we ferment it. And using the chest freezer, we were actually able to ferment all winter as well. Anyway, we ferment that and we hand feed them twice a day, every day.
Yep. And we try to do, our average is probably about 8 pounds per day per pig. And we use dry weights to sort of calculate what that would be in the fermented feed weights. And they just...
Let me tell y'all, pigs love them some fermented food. And when we have extra milk from the dairy cows, we throw that into the whole fermentation situation. And so we put that raw milk in there, and yeah, those pigs love that.
Oh, yeah. They
Okay, so that covers the feed. So the other day, can we go to the funny story now?
Sure.
The other day.
This is Tex, y'all. This is our boar hog.
You tell the story so much different than I do.
They need to see Tex.
It was gonna be like, and this is what he was greeted with.
Oh.
And you can't even get size. You can't even tell that, can you? Like, you can't even see really how big that fella is. So this is Tex. It's our prized boar hog.
Yeah.
He is prized, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. His genetics are very, very good. There are some competitions for hogs and boar hogs in particular, and the Berkshire competition, Tex's dad won the competition for the best flavored offspring in the U.S. So he's a good boar.
He's a good boar. However, he's not perfect. So we get a phone call the other day, and Huck is on the phone, and he says, so I'm standing on top of the buggy, which is the side-by-side, and we're like, why are you standing on top? Like, did you go across the creek and you're stuck? I was thinking maybe there was a bear. I didn't know, but he was on top of it. And he said, Tex greeted me at the feeder pigs. Now, the feeder pigs and the breeder pigs live in two different locations on the farm. Tex should not be near the feeder pigs.
No.
And he said, yeah, he greeted me when I came down here with the food to the feeder pigs, and he's very intent on getting the food. So we went down there, and this was the first opportunity we had to get the 550-pound boar hog to the other pasture, by hand, really.
Yeah, we delivered him via trailer to the farm, and then he stayed right there. We've sort of walked him around that area, those paddocks right there. Mm-hmm. But he hasn't ever gone on a walkabout around the farm.
Yeah, totally on a walkabout. I'm glad he wasn't up here at the house.
Yeah, right.
550. He's got tusks, y'all, and he's very calm. He's really nice. He is not an aggressive boar, so to speak, but you don't trust. You don't trust a boar, you don't trust a ram, you don't trust a bull, you don't. But he's a good guy. So Rich with his shepherd's crook. I
put on my best young 4-H'er mentality.
Yeah.
And
he grabbed the stick.
I thought I was gonna, tap. You know how they do with their wooden crooks and when they're showing hogs and 4-H.
He was gonna walk him. He was gonna push him. He was gonna tap him on one side, tap him on the other side, and move him until that didn't work out. No. But the food did. He was very food motivated, yeah. And he drug him along with a bucket of food, and got him back into his respective.
Back into his area.
In his area, which is hot wire.
Yeah, what happened was he rooted one of the hay bales that Shelley was talking about. He had rooted a big pile of hay onto the wire, and it grounded it out completely. Yeah. And he had buried the wire with hay, and that allowed him to just sort of step over the wire and go on a walkabout.
So maybe a year or so ago, and Susie Q. Martin will remember this, we made a podcast, and it said, we finally said no to something on the farm. We are not going to farrow pigs. And here is why we're not going to farrow pigs. We decided, let someone else do something. We can buy feeder pigs, and we did. And we bought amazing feeder pigs from our friend,
Yeah, Rick. These pigs
From Rick.
that I'm showing you are from Rick.
Right. So Rick calls us one day, last year about this time, and said, I'm thinking about getting out of it. Would you guys like my breeders? Well, two things. One, we know those are good breeders. And two, and that they make good piglets. And two, well, there goes our supply of piglets. And if you want to be some sort of sustainable operation, you have to have, well, you need piglets.
Even on the podcast, that was part of the discussion, was as long as we have a reliable source of amazing Berkshires, then we don't need to farrow them. And when Rick said, I'm out,
we said, oh no.
Oh no.
So we had to make a decision, and we made it. It was pretty easy, actually. We had to make it fairly quickly. And we wound up saying, well, yeah, we'll buy what you've got, and we don't know how to do this. There are horror stories about farrowing pigs. We don't know how to do this. Of course, we didn't know how to do any of this when we left Washington, D.C. to begin with.
Right.
So we figured we can learn this too, as apprehensive as we were, and we have.
Yeah. Here's a picture of one of the sows. As she was right before she was having her piglets.
Doesn't that look miserable, y'all? Ladies? Like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got into the farrowing operation, and the first set of piglets that we had, we were trying a couple of different
this would have been in the fall of last year.
This was last fall.
September-ish, October.
We weren't sure if we wanted to keep them sequestered alone and in an area to themselves, or whether we wanted them to be out in the paddock with everybody else. So this particular picture, she is in a pen by herself. We have a little bit of a shelter that she could get in, and it had an area on the edges where the piglets could get away from her so that they weren't getting laid on. Mm-hmm. And that's one of, probably the biggest horror story of farrowing piglets is that they get laid on. The moms are so big and they are so small that they just get crushed. So we were trying a couple of different things to see what worked best as far as not getting them squished.
No.
And what we found was that it didn't matter. Some got squished in that pen where we had her sequestered. Some got squished when they were outside. So
they don't know how to get out of the way when they're really little, and they just can get laid on.
And if you've seen the pictures, the industrial farming, the farrowing crates, to me, it's almost like cruel and unusual punishment. The moms all they can do is lay down. They can't even go to another side. Like, they just lay there, and the piglets have access to her to nurse, and that's it.
It's a very, very tragic, miserable existence for those, and we don't do that.
Like
so we decided we're just not going to even really put them in anything. We give them large bales of hay so that they can nest like a pig should.
In this, you can see the piglets they make their own little areas in the bale of hay. They root out underneath it and make like little overhangs, like little cliffs basically, and they almost make their own shelter. It's really cool. And so that's what it looks like now when the moms farrow. They have their piglets in the hay, and then the piglets end up rooting the bale. The moms will root it some and make a nest, and then the piglets root it out and make themselves a shelter.
Yeah. So we also had to learn how to, you had castrated pigs before.
Yeah.
But, now we, not only about just castrating a pig, but we had to figure out, well, how on earth are we we got 50 piglets out there running around like roving motorcycle gangs in the woods. How are we going to corral these things? Of course, they're food motivated, but they have to be trained.
Yeah, again, in the industrial style, they're just sitting right there in a cage.
Yeah.
You just reach down and pick them up. For us, they're running
They're
around
running
the woods.
being little piglets. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hello, Wendy.
So finally figured out how to get them to go into one cage, and we're able to feed them up, get them moved, get them onto another part of the property via trailer. We're just trailer them right over there, load them up, but now we're at the place where we got to figure out, okay, we've got one group that's still finishing, getting ready to go to the processor, and another group we're going to have to figure out where we're going to put them, because we're keeping a number of them. Some of them are being sold as feeder pigs, and they will be leaving the property, but the rest of them are going to be here. We got to find somewhere else to put them, start setting up a whole entire new area. I'm certain that we'll make a video out of it and bring everybody along on that. Yeah. So it has been quite the learning curve on that deal.
Yeah. So breeding management, the way we are doing it now is we have 5 sows and a boar, and we are breeding all 5 of them at the same time. Yeah. And the idea there is, for planning purposes, we plan 10 piglets per sow. So we're thinking somewhere in the 50 piglet range will be born, and then we will probably lose 10 to 15% of those getting squished and different issues. So like for our planning factor, we are planning on 40 piglets in the spring and 40 piglets in the fall. He is a busy boy. Wendy says he's a busy boy. That's true. And when we put him in this last time, we put him in December. I think it was the second week of December. And we never saw him breeding. So we were like, oh my gosh, I don't know. So, but everybody was, obviously pregnant. They start growing. And then we had 4 sows farrow on the same day, and the 5th one was 2 days, a day and a half later.
Everybody had their babies all at the same
time.
There were so many of them.
Yeah, it was a lot of piglets, and it was about 50. So we ended up with like 50 piglets on the ground at the same time. Right now out there, it's either 39 or 40 are left, and that I think we will continue that. I know some people do things differently where they're farrowing all the time, so they've always have different.
One thing that we do not want, because we're trying to keep it as natural as possible, we definitely don't want to be farrowing in the actual cold, not in the real winter. It's cold enough here, even risking it into November, because we can have days where it drops really, really cold in November. It could be warm, it could be 70, or it could be 23.
Yeah,
and we don't want to be doing that.
We're pushing it right now because we're still about 2 weeks, a week and a half from weaning the piglets. Yeah. So we're pushing it for getting texts in with the ladies on when they're going to be born in the fall. But the idea, at least right now, is that we're still going to do 2 batches, spring and fall, which is what we were doing when we were just buying feeders. That's sort of the routine that we got it on. And the first time we farrowed, we ended up with about 6 weeks between the first batch and the second batch. And I didn't like that because they're all together out in the forest. We ended up with 6-week-old piglets and newborn piglets. And the 6-week-olds were just, they're running everybody around and butting everybody out of the way, and the moms just sort of feed everybody. So the smaller ones I didn't feel like they were getting enough. So anyway, I like this way of doing things better. Yeah. So Susie Q, it must be extremely hard scheduling sheep, having lambs, pigs, piglets, cows, calves. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Right now, it's just extremely busy.
Chickens,
And,
eggs.
well,
Yeah.
one of the things that we've learned too is we go for, I say all the time, good, better, best. And we try not to let perfection be the evil of good. And they're out in the pastures or they're out in the, and we try to keep everyone in the best possible condition possible, or in the best possible location for them, or all the things, the very, very best that we can. And sometimes it just has to be good. Like when I was hurt and the pigs had to kind of hang out in a spot longer than we really liked. But that was just what we had to do, and we made it work. Yeah. But it is hard. It is busy. Lord knows we're not bored.
Yeah. So Gregory says we had at the most 30 sows that we would farrow twice a year. Our farrowing barn would hold 15, so we were busy. Oh, and that is busy.
That's busy.
That is really busy. The piglet management in that is busy also, because you have to do all of the things to keep them healthy, and for feeders that includes castrating the males, and you have to get them away from the mamas in order to do that. And like this time we ended up loading the moms onto our livestock trailer. So we got all 5 sows onto the trailer, shut them in,
lock them up
behind metal doors.
Yeah.
And that way,
give them plenty of food, hang out.
As most of the piglets didn't even holler when we were castrating them, but man, one was just going crazy, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was very glad that the mamas were not able to get to us.
No.
Angel's Home says spring into the first part of summer must be a crazy busy time. It is right now. Is like where it's quite busy for us.
Mm-hmm.
But we have help, and
we do.
We mentioned my dad. My mom is here. Mom and dad are both here about half of the time, and then Rebecca, our oldest daughter, she really takes care of the milking and milk deliveries and sales. And then
she also mans the store in town,
and she does the store 4
of the 5 days a week, runs the farmers market in Forsyth, and while we do the store on Saturdays. So we do have help.
And
Michaela, oh my gosh, you guys want to know about a 13-year-old chick who can farm? Oh my goodness, she is phenomenal. Yeah. She really, really is. She's strong.
Yep.
She's able-bodied. She's capable.
Yeah.
And she's confident.
Oh yeah. And then we also have Rebecca's friend Huck is on farm helping out. So I mean, we've definitely got help. It is busy, but we definitely do have help. Hello, Muconda. We're doing very well, thank you. Yeah, and Wendy says it's great to have help, and it absolutely is great to have help. And Susie Q mentions that what we've talked about was Nana and Papa doing the garden, and that's absolutely that. Last year it got to the point where it just became like maybe we won't garden. I don't know. It was just there was a lot, and so when Nana said, I'll take instead of planting my garden in Oklahoma, I'll tend the garden over here. That was awesome. That was really cool. Muconda wants you to say something.
What did I say? I don't know.
Reply.
Oh, Shelley, please reply. Yeah. Hi, Muconda.
Yeah. So back to the pigs' weaning age. We wean them at 8 weeks, and I know that some folks do things differently. You can wean them as young as about 5 weeks. And 6 weeks is a fairly standard weaning age. For us, we wean at 8 weeks. We just feel like that extra time with their mom does them really well. Yeah. We start feeding them in their own area almost immediately, and it doesn't, like after birth, it doesn't take them long, maybe a week and a half. They find we have an area that the piglets can get to and the sows cannot.
Right. And it really doesn't take them long. Those little guys start eating. I saw one of them. He must have been like 2 days old. And he was out with his mom, just this tiny little teeny tiny thing out there getting her food. Like, I'm going to come get some too. And just, yum, yum, yum. I'm like, you're only 20 minutes old.
Right.
He didn't.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't care at all.
They're very food motivated from the beginning.
Yep. And so we start giving the piglets the GMO-free food. Basically, dry is what we do with them. So it's crushed up corn and soy and stuff like Shelley was describing, and we start giving that to them very, very soon. And that's how we were able to train them to go into the area where I could shut them in, and then we could do the things that we need to do. Jesse, thank you for the super chat. Hello. Greg Kissel says it's great to have help, especially young and experienced help. Yeah.
Honestly, at this point,
really
without
is.
all of the help, we wouldn't be able to do everything that we're doing. We did do a lot of the building initially, like what the path that we're going and what we want to do. And as each enterprise grows, we thought we're going to do 800 chickens this year, and it's turned into almost 2,000 chickens this year. The reason that we were able to make that decision was because we do have help.
Yeah.
So the help has actually been the catalyst for the growth, because we have the help, because we're a team. And it's not like they're helping us. We're all farming together. Right. So it's not mom and dad's pet project. We're actually all building and creating a business, underground farms, air-to-ground meats, and beyond, that it's ours. It's all of ours. We're the ones that are making it. I didn't have the first thing hardly to do with building the last 3 chicken tractors, because other people were on that project. And that the team that we have going on has been what has been it's given us the opportunity to keep going.
Yeah. Scott says, we have meat birds and layers thanks to watching you and Living Traditions Homestead. Now I'm ready to jump into raising feeder hogs. Thanks for the motivation. Man, I totally agree. I think if you're already doing meat birds and layers, doing some feeders that's absolutely the next step, and I think you'll do really well. Mukonda says, when's the next video coming out? We have
tomorrow.
It scheduled for release tomorrow morning. We're going to do a fairly deep dive into our meat bird operation. And then Susie Q says, how often do you have to deal with veterinarians coming onto the property? Are you pretty safe and not needing them?
We have had the vet out on maybe 4 different occasions. For the most part, it's the dairy cows. If anything goes wonky with them, we want to go ahead and call the vet, and we trust them to come out. We can get those dairy cows into their stanchions and schedule for the vet to come out and have a look at them. If you followed what happened with Betty, one of our dairy cows, she wound up getting really sick. We ended up putting her down, and so we had them out. We did a lot of testing on her and found out she had a disease that was not going to get any better. And so those types of situations. Most recently, we had a cow that got down, and we called the vet out, and she was able to give her a bunch of stuff and bring her back. And that was actually out in the field. So when we need to, we call them. We have a large animal vet, and he's right in town, Dr. Peters. He is great. And
You've probably seen him on Kevin and Sarah's channel on Living Traditions Homestead, Dr. Mike, they call him. And I think it's awesome that we have a large animal veterinary clinic so close, and they showed up, like every time we've called them, they've showed up as if it were an emergency. And that's really, really nice, because that does not always happen.
Well, and large animal vets actually the world needs more of them.
Yeah.
And the fact he's got entire working facilities right in downtown Ava, just very near Walmart, is a vet with large animal clinic, and you'll see people taking their cows and horses and every manner of things into town to have them looked at and taken care of.
Yeah, so Tom says it's better to be a kingmaker instead of ruling an empire. Partnerships are very important. Hear, hear. Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. And while we've got you, Tom, thanks so much for your mentorship. We honestly consider you a friend and appreciate so much the time that you've taken over the past couple of years to mentor us through YouTube comments, which is awesome. So thank you. All right, so more about the pigs. Any?
Well, I don't think we're growing anymore, like past what we have right now.
I mean, did we have anything else to say about the pigs?
Oh, do we have anything else to say about the pigs other than that they're delicious? And if you would like some, airtogroundmeats.com.
Oh, yeah.
I
wanted to talk grow out phase. So that
okay.
We spend about 6 months growing them out. Once they're weaned, they stay on farm for about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And our target weight is somewhere between 275 to 300. We took 4 hogs to the processor today. They were all between 300 and 360 pounds. So they were a little bigger than what we would normally take, but we love big pork chops as well.
So how on earth do we get those pigs from that forest into all the way to the processor? Well, it's a little bit of a process. So we back the trailer up. Our livestock trailer is used for all manner of things.
All manner of livestock.
And for a few days, right before pigs are to go to the processor, we back it up. We set it there, we let them get used to it for a minute, and then we start feeding them out of it. We put all of their food up in there, and if they want to eat, that's where they have to go. And then the evening before pigs are to go to the processor, we actually don't feed them that morning, or maybe even the evening before. We do a little skip and make them be real hungry. We need them motivated because we need self-loading pork chops.
That's right. And
right?
Hunger motivates a hog.
It does. So we go down there, we feed them, they get rather motivated, and quite a number of them get on. So the task at that point is shut the door, and then Rich goes on, brave soul that he is, and takes pig boards with him, which are the red, boards, the plastic boards that you can sort pigs with. He goes onto the trailer and he sorts the pigs that he doesn't want to go to the processor off. And he does that with some help. Someone slides the door for us or for him. And he will say, okay, and one will shoot out and we'll shut the door, just like you would sort cows or any other thing in any other sorting system.
Yeah, it's so much easier to get more than what you need onto the trailer and then sort off the ones that you don't want. That is so much easier than trying to, in the forest, pick one out and then try to convince it to get onto the trailer.
And
that just doesn't work.
So get them all on and then sort them off. And sometimes the evening prior we'll go down or maybe a day or two prior, and we'll spray paint the ones that we know we want to take with us. Mm-hmm. As they get bigger. It's easier to tell who the big guys are off of the trailer or outside of the trailer than it is inside the trailer.
Everybody looks big when you're on when you're locked in a trailer with them.
When you weigh $165 and you're in there with 300 pounders, everybody looks big, Yeah. So that's how we load them up and then just take the 4 that we want to take. Sometimes we have to be a little coercive and get some of them to go on. You couldn't get that big guy on yesterday, so we just kind of push them and
and the idea, especially with animals that are bigger than you, making them less comfortable where they are than where you want them to be, I think is sort of the mentality that I have with these guys. And so the biggest hog that we took today was almost 360 pounds. He was like 358, 359, something like that. And he didn't want to get on the trailer. So Huck and I both ended up with just walking around in the forest with him and making him less comfortable there than it was going to be on the trailer. Mm-hmm. And he was, it took maybe 5 minutes, and then he was like, all right, I'm now on the trailer. It never.
Put that over there.
Gregory's.
What did he say?
I help a person load a semi-trailer with fat hogs once and only once. We always loaded ours in stock trailers with a ramp. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
We have used a ramp in the past. Currently, they just jump
Our
on.
stock trailers,
It's
actually sits pretty low because it's a horse slant trailer, really. Yeah. It was originally designed for horses, and they step up. So we're able to, we did use a ramp. We didn't think the pigs could do it, and then the ramp was just a real pain. So we just said, you know what, open the door and see if they'll climb in, and they do.
The way I built the ramp, the door wouldn't slide closed with the ramp on. So that was not being...
Look, new farmers like to overcomplicate everything. They do. We don't know, when you're brand new. We've been doing it for 4 years now, so we've figured out some of the little tricks of the trade. But the number one thing that a lot of us do is we worry and we overplan and we way overcomplicate things. Sometimes you just have just walk the cows down the pasture, but you don't know until you know your animals, how they're going to respond, and sometimes we just complicate it.
Yeah.
Right?
Anti-Fiat says, I hope to never buy CAFO meat again. Me too, brother.
Anti-Fiat, as long as we're in your life,
you
won't have to, as far as we're concerned.
Yeah. And Susie Q says, have you made sausage and canned it before? It is so good.
No, but the other week I went to a ladies retreat with my friend Sarah from Living Traditions Homestead, and she taught an excellent class to those ladies on pressure canning, canning and fermenting in general, preserving, but really watched and paid attention to all of the information about pressure canning. So my mother-in-law, Linda, she brought over her pressure canner that we got her for Christmas, and we're going to try some here really soon. They pressure canned chicken, and I was just absolutely in awe of the fact that they put this raw chicken in there and ran it through the pressure canner, and out comes cooked canned chicken broth and all. I was just absolutely mesmerized. So we're going to try canning some meats here really soon.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make a video on it, but
not first.
No, no, probably never.
So Sarah's got all of this.
She does.
Brenda Ann says, new to your channel. What a lovely conversation. Thank you. Well, thank you.
Thank you. That's really kind. Thank you.
Glad to have you. What does Susie Q say?
Oh.
You want to brown the sausage off in the oven before you put it in the cans, and then pressure. Can it for 90 minutes. When you open that can and cook the sausage, it's awesome. Thanks, Susie.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Well, we do have sausage. Lord knows we've got sausage.
Yeah. And Wendy says, I started pressure canning recently. It's easier than I thought. That's good to know.
I was rest assured that I'm not going to blow up my kitchen,
Right.
I was pretty sure I would blow up the kitchen, but apparently it's really not that much of a thing. So,
Brenda Ann says, new to your channel, does your shop sell beef jerky?
We do have some.
We do. Is it online?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I would have to go and look.
I actually don't think we have it in the online store. We could certainly put it there. We sell.
We do.
A variety. We have refrigerated meat sticks. We have a shelf-stable meat stick that has pork added to it. We have a shelf-stable beef-only meat stick.
And we have jerky.
Full muscle actual beef jerky. Yeah.
Because we like it. We eat a lot of meat, and beef jerky is a great snack.
Yeah. So we'll add it to the website. I really don't think it's there, but we need to add it. Susie Q, yeah. We're gonna try it.
Okay.
We're gonna try it. And Wendy says their meat sticks are delicious. Well, thanks, Wendy.
Thank you. Oh, what's this?
Tom says, stories about loading and unloading animals reminds me of my first week as a captain. Tom is a pilot, a commercial airline pilot, as well as a former fighter pilot. We had an unruly passenger, so I emptied everyone off the aircraft, shut all the window shades. Yep. Yep, same.
They
You
go off.
got to sort them off, right?
That's
You
right.
get everybody on and then sort off who you don't want. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's
Brenda's
great.
interested in having some meat sticks. Yeah.
All right.
We're interested in getting them to you as well.
Yeah.
That's really the reason we're doing this is because we wanted this whole thing, regenerative farming thing, to include our forested pork. Is we wanted the best meat we could have.
Yeah.
And just set out to raising it. And then from there decided to scale it to the point where we can share it at least with a few folks. I know we're not feeding the nation, but we can certainly share it with a few folks. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure that it's available to folks that might want it and get the word out that we're actually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. For sure. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. Oh, Susie.
My brother is a retired Army colonel and flew helicopters for the Army and is a private jet pilot out of Nashville. Thank you for your service.
There are a lot of pilots that we kind of chat with and stuff. A lot of military people, and it's so awesome.
It
really is.
Yeah, and then Gregory Kissel says, we started using a Presto electric canner. Makes it easier than the stovetop. Oh, that's interesting.
That's interesting. I think she has a Presto. We bought her, but I think it's going to have to go on top of the stovetop.
But an electric one,
that seems like you could just like set it and almost forget it, but don't forget it. Don't do that.
Yeah, right.
Right. At least that's what I heard. Anyway.
So we mentioned it earlier in the discussion, but we do have a video coming out tomorrow.
Yes.
And we have a podcast that we hope to put out maybe Wednesday, Thursday on our other YouTube channel, the Duster Mud, DUST''ER, Duster Mud channel. And
yeah,
I think that's about what's going on.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for hanging out with us again today. And until next week, we'll see you guys. No, I don't wait. Oh, stop. I don't know if we'll be here next Monday because we're going actually on a little road trip to North Carolina to see my folks. So next Monday, I think we're going to be on the road.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
We might could do it from the road.
From the road.
That'd be fun.
Now he's lost his mind, y'all. Okay. Well, stay tuned. We'll see if we're doing it from the road. Probably not.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. And until next week, bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.